50 years, design degree, CSUN. Mayor Villaraigosa, back by the beginning, said we should preserve the character of the individual communities of Los Angeles. Sherman Oaks is the second oldest community in the valley. There was harmony in scale, at least, between the residential areas and the boulevards. Along came developers, and they seemed to have the same priority: crowd as many people in giant structures as possible, and never mind the character of Sherman Oaks. In 2010, an architect from SCAG said, "I know this is a third rail issue, but is it not time to look at rezoning R1 areas to R3? Some residents in Sherman Oaks are afraid of this. Mega buildings, seemingly built with massive future development in mind, do nothing to alleviate this worry. Please keep the boulevards in scale and design in harmony with our nature-oriented residential areas. Reduce Toscano height and tier back." Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome. Please introduce yourself and begin.
Yeah, hi, my name is John Kearns. I live in the neighborhood. I'm glad that they have reduced the size to 325 and the two floors. My concern is the traffic and cars exiting in the morning. I just want to make sure whatever's decided here, that the traffic in the neighborhood is addressed, because it's bad now. Some of the streets are gridlocked just getting out of there. So with this project and more cars coming in, the whole neighborhood is just going to be packed with cars trying to get to Ventura Boulevard or beyond. So whatever is decided, traffic has to be addressed. And the neighborhood needs to have restrictions with non-residents being able to enter. Thank you.
John, thank you. Welcome.
My name is Albert Mass, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak before you folks. A couple of points I want to make is, number one, the project is way out of scale for the area. There are single-family homes, two-story, three-story apartment buildings there. There's one four-story adjacent to the Galleria, and that's it. So 4 stories would be appropriate. They also built a very fine project at the corner of Woodley and Ventura Boulevard, the same builder, and that is 4 stories. The bottom story is businesses and 3 stories of residents on a very busy Ventura Boulevard. Sepulveda is the same thing. The other point is that Camarillo is a very narrow street, and with the thousands of cars going in and out daily to the Galleria, they're going to provide 1,000 parking spaces for residences, and these 1,000 cars, or 500 at least, will be traveling the freeways every day. And the impact, here we're widening the 405, and then the congestion will just defeat the advance.
Albert, thank you for being here. Gerald, before you begin, could I invite up Norma Landau, Linda Brooks, Jamie, I believe it's Leger Hansen, Aaron Green, and Jacqueline Diamond. Welcome.
Mrs. Landau had to leave early.
Ah.
So, I'm Gerald Silver, president of Homeowners Encino. Did y'all see the traffic jam when you came here from Ventura going north all the way beyond almost to Roscoe? That's a huge traffic jam. You want to make it worse. Our friend Nicholas Hendricks, did he give you this document? Did you all look at the thousands of opposed signatures in there? Did you all see that? If you didn't, please take a look at it now. The specific plan was not a rational compromise. I was on the neighborhood council, on the CIC at the time. It was a hammer out between the egregious requests of the developers against the homeowners. So forget the rationality of the specific plan. It's far too excessive. Don't build anything within 500 feet. Don't build 500. Don't build 399. Don't build 299. Build zero there for residents. It's irrational to go beyond that. No statement of overriding considerations.
Gerald,
We'll be
thank you.
watching carefully.
Thank you for being here.
Do you want a copy of this, or have you looked at it, all of you?
We already have it, I think.
Perfect. That's all the signatures.
Great.
Thousands of them.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Welcome, please. Please, it doesn't matter, any order's fine.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, it's fine. Just introduce yourself. Thank
Hi,
you.
my name is Linda Brooks. I live 1 block for 27 years from this development. I served on the Sherman Oaks Galleria Community Advisory Board for many years, dealing with the impact the Galleria had to our neighborhood after it was rebuilt and opened. I've been around the block, I've worked with all the city departments, with the developer and management. I know what it's like, and I look at this project, and our neighborhood cannot take the impact that this project is going to create for us. It just can't. I welcome you to please come to our neighborhood. Look at Camarillo, a 2-lane street. Look at the gridlock. Spend some time. Go through our neighborhood. We have enough units already that are vacant in our neighborhood. We don't need that many more. Thank you very much for your time. I oppose this.
Linda, thank you for being here. Aaron, welcome.
Mr. President, honorable commissioners, my name is Aaron Green, the Afriat Consulting Group, and I'm here today representing the Sherman Oaks Homeowners Association. And I also want to note that Stephen Afriat, president of my firm, is a resident of Sherman Oaks. And I'm not going to reiterate many of the points that have already been made, but I just want to note that one of the requests of the Sherman Oaks Homeowners Association, and I think we're hearing it loud and clear, is that we're not saying no. We're saying, let's please reduce the size to 298 units. And I can't recall, and I've worked on a lot of projects, and in my firm's 28-year history, we've worked on a lot of development projects here in the city. In the San Fernando Valley, I can't recall the last time I heard a homeowners association say, we're not gonna fight something that's 298 units. This is a rarity, and I think the commission, that we would really appreciate the commission's consideration of such a reasonable compromise on this issue. So thank you very much.
Aaron, thanks for taking the time. Welcome. Please introduce yourself and begin.
Hi, my name is Jamie Lagerhausen. I live at 4730 Burnett Avenue. I live in the neighborhood immediately east of the proposed Stano project, the eye of this variance hurricane. I've been extremely and openly opposed to the Stano project in its previous form. Not development as a whole, just gluttony. So, however, I am more supportive and pleased to hear about the reduction in units to the 325, and I'm open in hearing more of that. Thank you.
Jamie, thank you. Everybody who signed a speaker card against or in general comments, I think I've heard from everyone. So I would like to go to a 20-minute total for those for the project. I'm going to ask you to do your best. I'm going to call you up in groups to self-regulate because there's many more speakers than 20. And that means you need to, in fairness to everyone else, try your very best to speak succinctly and quickly. We do want to understand your issues, and we're really appreciative that you're here, but I am going to have to be very fair about giving both sides the same time, which is 20 minutes. So with that, could I invite, I believe it's, I'm not sure, Denise Gridley, Stuart Waldman, Jason Sweeney, Stuart Popkin, and Stan Gerson.
Good morning, it's Bruce, not Denise, and my apologies for that. I was reading last night about the history of the San Fernando Valley and the fight between the wheat growers and the citrus growers in the 1920s, with the wheat growers thinking that citrus was too much and they should have that. Well, it's a perpetual battle. We have 1.7 million people here in the San Fernando Valley. Obviously, times change and we need to respond to them. The thing that strikes me most about this project is it responds to what I think is the reasonable approach to development. That is to say, putting people where people need to be for work, 6.6 million square feet of office space, where they shop, the Galleria, and if any of you want to go work out, we have a new LA connection, sports connection there for you to do that. I'm a member of the Sherman Oaks Presbyterian Church. I speak on behalf of myself. I'm a long-term resident here, and I think this is the kind of project that I want to have in my community, and that's the reason I favor it.
Bruce, thank you. And I apologize for the name. Welcome. Please introduce yourself and begin.
My name is Doug Fendler. I'm speaking for Stuart Popkin. He had to leave early, so I'm going to read his statements here. First of all, he would not devote the time and energy to the project if he didn't believe in it. The site is an absolute eyesore and something needs to be done, and this project addresses that concern. The Toscana would be a great neighborhood and great for the neighborhood and the Sherman Oaks community, and he doesn't believe there will be a parking or traffic issue at all. He has a development next to his street by TJ Maxx and has not seen any impact from that. The Toscana Complex Plan is a wonderful idea for the site, and the mixed use of Toscana will help with the economy. And speaking for me personally, I'm a recent addition to the community I live in, Studio City right now, and this is the exact kind of place I'm looking to live, and I would appreciate it being approved.
Thank you for taking the time. Welcome, please introduce yourself and begin.
My name is Jason Sweeney. I live about 3 blocks away from the proposed site. One, I like to say, I think that the design is beautiful. I would welcome it in the neighborhood. I also would welcome the $140 million investment into the neighborhood, which I think is amazing, being a homeowner, to have that type of investment. $20 million going to the city, sorely needs that money. I'm looking forward to the 13,000 square foot community pavilion, the refurbishment of the median strip between, on Sepulveda there, nobody has said anything about that, but that, you know, I mean, it's gonna just completely change the look of Sepulveda from this deserted field to, you know, a beautiful, vibrant community, you know, the future of Sherman Oaks. As far as the traffic, I don't know, at 325, they've reduced that, I haven't heard of that yet. But I think, you know, reducing it to the 298, you know, 25 units, that's gonna make a difference to the traffic. 25 extra units, I can't see that as being any relevance whatsoever. But what I do see is that a project of this scale, in order for it to be profitable, for them to invest $140 million into it, it needs to be of a certain size for them to even do this project. And it would worry me about what would end up there if this project gets rejected. We don't need another office building in our neighborhood. I don't want that. So, thank you very much.
Jason, thank you. Welcome, please introduce yourself and begin.
Thank you. Good morning, council members. My name is Doug Arson with the Valley Industry and Commerce Association. I'm speaking on behalf of Stuart Waldman, our president, who I believe. We represent more than 380 businesses throughout the San Fernando Valley. VICA strongly supports the revised El Bellagio Toscana project, which underwent a remarkable process of working with the Sherman Oaks Neighborhood Council to ensure the best final project. El Bellagio Toscana is a model project fulfilling our region's air quality and transit-oriented development goals outlined in 2006's Assembly Bill 32, the Global Warming Solutions Act by then Assemblymember Fran Pavley, and 2008 Sustainable Communities Act by Senate President Pro Tem Darrell Steinberg. Committed member of the longtime member of the Valley business community, and David Paul has made several reductions in units, reduced building height, limited 2 of its original specific plan exception requests, incorporated an extensive list of design features, and volunteered over 20 other conditions requested by the neighborhood council. All this hard work and incorporation of feedback from multiple stakeholders throughout the community is a testament to the project's commitment to designing a gathering place that serves the needs of residents, customers, neighbors, and local businesses, not simply a vocal minority. We encourage the Planning Commission to move this project forward as soon as possible. Every day this development is delayed equates to lost commerce for Valley business owners and lost tax revenue for community reinvestment. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. I'm going to remind the speakers that you really have less than 30 seconds if we want to try to get everybody here to speak. Could I invite, before you begin, Kamor Zarzizan, Jeffrey Colban, Maria Colban, Jessica Gottlieb, and Sue Steinberg, please. Welcome.
Hello, my name is Stan Gerson. I happen to live in the area. I work in the area. I'm on the board of directors of the Chamber of Commerce, and I'm a senior citizen. Sherman Oaks does not look like it did in the early 1900s, in the 20th century, and we have to look now, we're in the 21st century. It won't look like this in the middle of the 21st century. So we have to go with what's in front of us, and we have to grow, and I really support this project, and so does the Chamber of Commerce. Thank you very much.
Thank you for being here. Welcome, please introduce yourself and begin.
Good morning, my name is Kumar Sarzani. I'm the principal of Ivy Bound Academy Charter School, which is about a few hundred feet from this project. I'm also a past Sherman Oaks Neighborhood Council member. One of the things that I struggle with every day as a school principal is that I have kids who arrive to school late every single day because of the traffic. And the only kids that arrive in school on time most of the time are the kids that live in the Grand. So having a project like this that allows more families in the areas, I'd rather have a project of 300, 400, or 500 than 500 single-family homes. That, again, I'm concerned as a principal of the school, and one of the issues that I struggle with every day is the one that Janice brought up, which is that she travels 2 hours to get where she needs to go. So the only thing that I oppose to this project is that the timing of it. We have the Coldwater Canyon, we have the freeway expansion, so if we can time this project, so it starts at a time when those projects are done with, I really think projects like this, I've spoken to the developers, they came to my office to hear my concerns, and the issue that I see right now is that if we push them too far, they will leave, and we can't afford that. Our city needs the investment, and our students need a facility where they can go to a home, and I'm very concerned that if this project goes away, what's gonna come in place of it? And having a business there, I think is gonna hurt us more. A set of buildings that are gonna be businesses are gonna hurt us more than a facility that's gonna be housing. Thank you for your time. And last thing I wanna say, I wanna thank you for you being a volunteer and helping our community. Thank you.
Thank you. I encourage the speakers to show your support and do it as quickly as you can. Thank you.
Hi, thank you. My name is Maria Pavlik-Calvin. My neighbors and I took up the fight to make Toscano smaller more than 2 years ago, hoping to protect our community from this massive project that violated height and density limitations and paid no attention to the traffic impact it would have on our adjacent community. We were concerned that future Toscano residents leaving their complex on Camarillo and finding a gridlock Sepulveda would cut through our neighborhood to access Ventura Boulevard in great numbers. Today, however, we feel that Mr. Hendrick's recommendations come close to satisfying our initial goal of less density and height, and thus a smaller impact on our traffic. We support his recommendations, along with the new conditions agreed to for the benefit of our adjacent neighborhood. We thank Jonathan Brand for listening and helping the community with this compromise. We at United Neighbors feel a smaller Toscano will make a better project for this community. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome. Please introduce yourself.
I'm Jessica Gottlieb. I live in the neighborhood, and I just want to second what Maria said. I do support the project as of these very 11th hour queue conditions that we found out about very late last night. But I have to note, I did not support this project, and I have to note the dichotomy between this and the project that you guys heard about before with Pinecrest. Had MPaul come to the community in the manner that these other builders did, I don't think that we would have court reporters and this many people needing to speak within just 20 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Good morning. My name is Sue Steinberg. I'm a resident of 4707 Burnett Avenue. That is a street that's immediately adjacent to this proposed project. Like Maria before me, I have had problems with 399 units, but now we do support staff's suggestion for 325 units, as long as all the traffic mitigation measures proposed and offered by the applicant go forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Could I invite up Trudy Roth, Stevie Steinberg, Carolyn Cesavar, Kevin Tamaki, and Nune Krajin. Welcome. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Jeff Calvin. I'm an architect. I'm the proud husband of Maria Pavlik-Calvin, who spoke very eloquently a couple of minutes ago. We have been working with the developer for many years to try to get this to be a better project. They have worked with us and stepped back their facade. They have worked with us and put in a plaza. They've worked with us and given us this re-landscape median on Sepulveda, between Sepulveda and Little Sepulveda. We applaud them for that. They have, at the last minute yesterday, agreed to additional queue conditions, which I believe Nick Hendricks passed out to you this morning. And if those are incorporated into the approval, and we would happily support the reduced recommended 325, 82-foot high project. And we submitted, I believe you would have received it, letters of signature from a lot of our neighbors. Do you have these? We signed last night that we support the project, and a lot of our neighbors have had to leave because of the time. Thank you very much.
If you could hand those to James, we'll make sure that goes on the record. Thank you. Welcome. Please introduce yourself and begin.
My name is Stevie Steinberg. I live on Burnett Avenue to the east of the proposed plan. My initial concern for this project was for the well-being of the fellow children on the street. There are 40 of us, and traffic hasn't really been that great to us recently, or in any time for that matter. But Toscano, initially I opposed it, and so did many of my neighbors and a lot of people in the area. However, they have shown themselves to be very compromising and very compassionate to the people of the area. And this 180 they have done is very impressive to me, and so I support the revised plan.
Thank you for being here. We appreciate it. Welcome.
Hello, my name is Carolyn Caspan. I'm a resident in the area. I live on Dickens Street. And I support this project because this is the kind of development we need. This project is consistent with the recently adopted SCAG, RTP, SCS, and we need these types of projects to help us reduce greenhouse gas emissions in our region. This higher density type of development, along with mixed use, next to, I see as very important transit corridors. Both Sepulveda Boulevard and Ventura Boulevard have rapid transit bus lines on them, so they are important transit corridors in our region. And having this kind of development makes it easier for the government to provide cost-effective public transit. It also reduces housing costs, and it also improves the vitality of the region. I have already noticed with the apartment buildings that are being built in the area that on Dickens, which is all apartment buildings, people are starting to clean up their apartments. So these types of projects are very important to revitalizing our neighborhoods, and I support the project.
Carolyn, thank you for being here. Before you begin, could I invite up Ann Garrett, Dale Brandenburg, Scott Green, Louis Crackover, and Ronald Ziff, please. Welcome.
Hello, and my name is Nune Karaja, and I'm a former resident at the UCLA Graduate Student Housing, which is at the 3200 block of Sawtelle and Sepulveda Boulevards, right at the 405 freeway. My children attend Ivy Bound Academy, and that's the reason why we chose the Grand as our residence versus the Serrano for its comfort and quality and LEED certification. And I request actually a higher capacity on the risk that the Grand may be demolished, and that's still being decided by the owner. And I like the quality that the Serrano represents, and I want to live at the Galleria. I believe in a small carbon footprint, and I have reduced my my mileage in the last 3 years to a total of 18,000 miles versus the previous 5 years of my previous at 15,000 a year. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Welcome.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Kevin Tamaki. I'm with AT&T. My company has been a long-time presence in Sherman Oaks ever since Dialtone came to San Fernando Valley. We have a couple locations in Sherman Oaks, one of which is 2 blocks away from the proposed site. I think that the development would provide great opportunities for our employees to walk just 2 blocks away for shopping, for recreation, for retail, and believe it or not, residential. And my company supports telecommuting, but this is almost as good. Imagine someone from our company being able to walk to work. So we look forward to that. Thank you.
Heather, thank you. Welcome. Please introduce yourself and begin.
Hi, I'm Ann Garrett, and I live in Encino. I am here today to strongly voice my support for this project. I am a parent who drives her kids to and from schools, music classes, sports in the Sherman Oaks area. So speaking to you from the parent's point of view, having a beautiful open space is something that I really appreciate and we need. Having a grocery store connected to an open space that is beautifully landscaped is something that I strongly desire, frequenting grocery stores often. In addition, this is going to bring commerce, jobs. This is going to help with economic output in our community. It's really a win for all of us here, so I strongly urge you to support this project. This developer is doing everything that we could possibly ask for. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for making the time. Welcome.
I'm Ronald Ziff, member of the Sherman Oaks Neighborhood Council Board and chairman of the Land Use Committee. We worked for 21 months on this project. We're responsible for adding 24 conditions that you have in your paperwork. We held 6 public meetings, heard over 200 speakers during not 20 minutes but 20 hours of testimony. It was hard work. The conditions we put on this have been accepted by the council office, the zoning administrator, even groups that spoke opposed to this have endorsed our conditions, and the developer has. As far as traffic around the site, we know that it exists and it's tough, and because of that, we are working separately with our own time. We're volunteers just like you, and we're working with Metro, Caltrans, and DOT to solve the existing traffic problems.
Ronald, 20 hours, impressive. Welcome, please introduce yourself.
Good morning, Commissioners. Louis Krokover, resident of Sherman Oaks, 14117 Chandler Boulevard. As a longtime resident of the San Fernando Valley, City of Los Angeles, and business owner, you have a right to look at both the positive and negative sides of any project presented to you. I believe that what has been done by the developer, the Sherman Oaks Neighborhood Council, and staff to come to a happy medium is a long-term benefit for the community and the City of Los Angeles. I recommend that the Commission support the project with all recommendations. Thank you.
Louis, thanks for being here. Before you begin, could I invite up BJ Killen, Paul Kruger, Paul Kozlov, Alicia, and Barbara Salveson. Welcome, please introduce yourself and begin.
Hello, good morning. My name is Scott Killini. I'm a Sherman Oaks resident. I've heard a lot about the traffic. If the economy of the valley alone were to come back to even close to 10%, no litigation of traffic will compare to this size of project. You're talking tens of thousands versus 1,000. It's totally different. The height, this developer has adjusted many times to many conditions set upon them. The plaza is bigger than the plaza that is in front of the Galleria right now. And across the street, just to the south, there's a 6-story parking structure. So thank you very much for your time, and I wish you to approve this project.
Scott, thank you. Welcome, please introduce yourself and begin.
Hello, thank you. My name is BJ Killeen, and just for the record, there's a mockingbird outside my window that's louder than 78 decibels. Okay, just letting you know. Honestly, the opponents don't really care about public health. I don't see them reaching out to the people who live next to the freeways now. It's just a convenient argument for them to throw at this. Those who oppose the project today have the same tired battle cry about the traffic that it's going to generate. The point of this complex is that it's creating the type of living where people are close enough to shops and to restaurants where they don't need their cars. This is the trend toward urbanization, urbanizational living that I see from my younger friends who are living in the cities and doing things without their vehicles. Keeping buildings away from the city, the traffic's only going to be worse. I mean, where do they think these cars are coming from? They're coming from the suburbs, not from inside the city. So I think this is a very good plan, and I also think if Sherman Oaks Homeowners Association spent the same amount of effort on quality of life issues to remove graffiti or help the homeless, or even attend one single neighborhood watch monthly meeting led by our senior lead officer, to learn how to prevent crimes instead of protesting an apartment building, it might actually accomplish something that's productive. Thank you.
BJ, thank you for being here. Welcome, please introduce yourselves and begin.
Eric Zalwas, and I'm taking my wife's spot because I have to go back to Century City to work. I was very happy when this project was approved by the neighborhood council after considerable time and work on both sides, from the developer as well as the neighborhood council. I think it meets many of the city's long-term goals. It creates long-term economic benefits for everybody in the neighborhood. It's also being built by a developer that has one of the best reputations in the city of Los Angeles for both building and maintaining its properties, which is extremely important.
Thank you for being here. You get the last word. Please introduce yourself and begin.
I'll talk about 3550 Royal Woods Drive, just south of the boulevard there, on Osceola Boulevard. I'm directly impacted by the development. I support the development. It's basically fits right in with the surrounding structures, especially Sherman Oaks Galleria and other buildings around it. The valley is no longer a suburban valley. If you want to be the valley sort suburban, you go to Northridge or Porter Ranch, something like that. We're in more of an urban area. It's modern, contemporary. A lot of young professionals would like to be able to walk to work or walk to somewhere nearby. It's no longer, just a bunch of small buildings and communities necessary. It would save actually on traffic versus create more traffic, and I'm a strong supporter, as well as a lot of restaurants that I personally visit, like Marmalade Cafe, and a lot of other of these businesses that are local. I attend them constantly, and I actually walk them there myself, so I think this would be a huge plus for the neighborhood, and this is something that we need, and it's in the right direction.
Paul, thank you very much. My apologies for all of those we didn't get to call. I'm genuinely sorry. We've run out of time on the 20-minute limit. Our last speaker is from CB4. Could I invite up Jonathan Brand, please? Jonathan, thank you for being here.
Thank you, President Rocha and Commissioners. My name is Jonathan Brand. I'm representing Councilman Tom LaBonge. Now, something you already know, but Sherman Oaks is a great community with fabulous people. Folks come to Sherman Oaks and never leave because it's a great place to live, to raise a family, and to do business. I know this, my family moved to Sherman Oaks in 1983. I grew up here, and they still live in their same original house that they purchased that year. Now, we have multiple community groups in Sherman Oaks that genuinely work for what they believe are the best interests of the community. I firmly believe that, and it's very important. You know, the council office takes these groups' considerations and recommendations very seriously in regard to our position on planning cases and really everything else that happens in this area, and we appreciate that. The hard work of all these different groups. This proposal, as you heard before, has been in works for years, long before redistricting and the change to CD4. This project has received valuable input from the Chamber of Commerce, from the Homeowners Association, from the Neighborhood Council, and a group of neighbors called Neighborhood United 818. And they are directly adjacent east of Sepulveda between Moore Park and the 101. This is the group that stands to be most impacted. We've also received hundreds of phone calls and letters of correspondence of people that are against the project and people that are for the project. Some handwritten letters, some originally drafted letters, and others essentially just form letters that they signed on to. Now, the second revised project that council staff recommends before you today allows a 2.25 FAR, 325 units, and a maximum height of 82 feet, which is allowable for a mixed-use project in the specific Bend's area. And in addition to that, there is a lot of volunteered conditions that go above and beyond the CEQA conditions that have been placed on the project. We believe that all this combined is a good mix of all the input that we have received from all of these groups. It guarantees multiple intersection improvements, continued community participation during site review, which will ensure that what is approved actually gets built. I know a lot of people are afraid of the old bait and switch during site plan review, and we want to protect against that. And in addition to all of those, a mitigation fund that will help protect and improve the abutting neighborhood, which may include an expanded PPD if we get the support and we get the sign off from DOT and it meets CEQA requirements. So that said, council office supports the staff recommendations with the volunteered queues as a maximum size and scope for this site. We will not support anything above and beyond what staff's recommendations are. Now, like what we have, I just want to address one thing from we heard from the community. We heard from Bob Anderson from SOHA. And like SOHA, we would like to see what the new plans are. This was just a staff recommendation report 10 days ago. I don't think there are any renderings yet of what it would look like with the reduced height, the distribution of units, which I have been told will remain step back from Sepulveda to create that village effect and what has been negotiated by the neighborhood council and all the other types of changes reflected. We would like to see what that would be. And we can work on that, as
Yeah,
opposed to
Jonathan,
plumb.
we're happy to address that.
So, one last thing, I would like to thank our planning staff on this case, Nick Hendricks. He did a valiant effort and a great job, and his report is lengthy and detailed. It was a lot of hard work.
Jonathan, thank you very much, and thanks for the work the council office has done on this project. Thank you. With that, I'm going to close the public hearing. Can I invite Nick back up to the microphone, please? Commissioners, I'm going to leave it up to you to go around and begin to address the issues that you think are outstanding on this and yet to be resolved on this case. Regina, can I start with you?
Sure. I guess I have a couple things that I've heard from testimony that I wanted to hear the staff's response to, and then there's two issues in particular that I came to the hearing with questions on, and I want to kind of further flesh out. They also came from the community's testimony as well. And so one was there was some questions that were just raised about the new plans and not being sure exactly what we're going to get with the proposed reductions. And so if you can respond to that, and particularly with a focus on the what the height reduction and unit reduction is going to mean relative to the other benefits that folks, I think, were assuming were going to be had. Is there some way that some of those may be lost in what we're gaining in terms of height and lower number of units? There were some mention of some new conditions, and I'm presuming that some of those may in fact be voluntary conditions, which we're not going to have any imprint on, but I think it would still be worthwhile for us to hear what those are relative to the project. And if there are conditions, Q, for example, that are new relative to some of the changes, I think it's important for us to have those, and I don't see those directly in front of us, so I'd like to know what those are. There was some mention of some access concerns, particularly delivery truck access and vehicular access to residential parking. And I think I don't think I share the concern relative to vehicle access and residential parking, that notion that if it's an illegal turn, then it's an illegal turn and we're not presuming people are going to be making it. But if there's something else that we need to understand about that access issue. And then there was the delivery truck access and turn radius into the fire lane that was raised as well, that I think we want to hear about. I'm interested to hear from you if there were ever any discussions of affordability, and I obviously want to hear from the applicants too. They're part of our concern and priority around new rural planning, and the notion that if we are going to be lifting up at this as a project that has elements of sustainability relative to proximity to transit and locating density in proper locations, that a range of affordability is something that we've also considered within that envelope. And so I just want to hear what, if anything, has been discussed relative to that, understanding that we don't have the power, as much as I regret it, to mandate anything like that, but I think that's something, particularly when there's discretion involved, that we want to hear about. The two issues that I came to the hearing concerned about, heard a little bit about, and want to understand more fully. One is obviously the freeway proximity issue. And I want to have you and perhaps the applicant walk us through the efforts that have been engaged in to address the freeway proximity concern. I do believe that I understand the limits of our ability relative to precedent around this, because in fact it's already zoned residential. And previously, when we have made those types of moves and requests, the prior case was mentioned, but there have been others. It's about a change in zoning to add residents to a place where they didn't currently, where it wasn't currently allowed. But I do want to hear something that was articulated about the notion that we are allowing for some additional residential on the site, and how you think about that relative to the freeway proximity. And so that is the exception above what I guess the specific plan currently allows in terms of number of, or what there's an ability to build relative to that. And then finally, the traffic demand management. I want to make sure that it is truly as robust as possible so that we can lift this up as the type of project that I think the applicant wants us to perceive it as. And there were a couple things that I wanted to hear about relative to that. One is there was mention of perhaps exploring car share. I want to hear something, I think, a little more concrete about car share plans and bike share plans. I also want to find out if there's an opportunity for something a little more robust relative to the bus passes. And so I agree that it's not as if this is on the orange line, but it is close to the ability to get to the orange line. But we have to make sure that we're incentivizing people to make that choice, that it makes sense for them. And so I want to hear more about that bus pass offer. What are the what level is it, and what timing is it associated with? Is this a one-time offer? Is this something that's going to be consistent? How is this going to be going forward? And then finally, in the letter from FAST, there was some mention of pedestrian routes to schools that are located on the other side of the 405. And I heard from the applicant that there was agreement with the general principles of what FAST was asking for, but I wanted to hear specifically about that as well. That they were calling for working with Safe Routes to Schools, which I think is a really highly respected organization, to create safe pedestrian routes. And again, the only way we're going to get people out of their cars and have this really be lifted up as a type of sustainable project that you argue it is if people feel safe in doing so. And so if there isn't safety in terms of pedestrian kind of flows around the project, and particularly for folks who may be choosing to live here because it's close to school, then I want to make sure that that is something that we ensure. So those are the issues that I've heard from the public, and the two that I want to put a particular emphasis on. So I don't know if others want to add to that list to make sure we get everything out there for Nick to respond to, but that's what I heard.
Still, let's go next, commissioners, to any adds to this list. One thing I would like to add is one of the mitigation measures are relative to air quality or trees against the freeway. And I would like to talk about that see what kind of trees we're talking about. Also understand that we've got certainty that those trees are going to live and survive, that there's enough planter space there to make sure that happens. Others? Dana?
Totally second what the Commissioner Creer did, and she sounds more like a transportation plan.
For 8 years.
So I have a question and request. The request is that since now we have sort of seen that the proximity to the orange line is along Sepulveda, and we're also talking about bikes, then it's a question to staff: is there a proposed bike lane on Sepulveda between this area and the orange line? If it is, then there has to be a more robust connection with that bus lane.
Let's find out about that.
Yeah.
Okay. Discussion. Dana?
I think that's an excellent point. If there is a bike lane, I would love to see the applicant offering that as one of the voluntary queue conditions on that. I did look at the voluntary queue conditions that were placed on our desk this morning, and while I appreciate the additional offerings by the applicant, I would ask Nick, and if there's anyone here from DOT, to talk about the 5 unmitigated intersections, and if there's anything else that could be offered to try to deal with that impact.
Can you just show us what that looked like? I'm not seeing those people.
So, Nick, that's a big list. Let's go through it somewhat efficiently, and we can focus back if there's extensive discussion that needs to happen. I'm going to go down the list as described, the new plans. I would say that if this commission makes a recommendation, that we would condition any advisement that new plans would be to the review and discretion of the Director of Planning, and that those plans would be shared with the community prior to that review, so that there would be an opportunity for the many folks who have worked on this project to see what those new plans look like. So I would suggest that if we need further discussion on that, we can go there. And we do know what the queue conditions and Nick, is there any, in terms of the queue conditions, new conditions you've listed, after hearing public testimony, is there anything you would like to address or advise on that list?
Well, unfortunately, I just received that list this morning, so I haven't had the time to actually vet everything out. But I think that a lot of the conditions that I've seen so far are meant to mitigate traffic impacts to the local neighborhoods. Oftentimes, we see traffic studies done, and there's more of a concern about the major intersections, but not much interest or survey of the local neighborhoods and how, incremental impacts could affect.
So these queue conditions are voluntary?
Yes, the applicant has indicated that they would agree to accept to this, and I believe they're also adding additional monetary compensation to the mitigation fund under DOT's condition, which serves to also further facilitate mitigating traffic impacts at the 5 intersections that were indicated in the traffic study.
So we don't see any of these conditions being written into.
Well, I think we need to spend a little bit of time trying to figure out if there's some of these that maybe can be moved from the voluntary placeholder to some of our permanent queue conditions that we're asking for.
Sure.
Just to clarify, President Roshan, the Department of City Planning is really trying to move away from voluntary conditions. So although these are being proposed by the applicant, they very well may be added into our conditions of approval for this project. Once that happens, they will be mandatory, and they also need to be enforceable by the city.
Let's do this, rather than get hung up on this, let's go through all the points. And then if the applicant can look at this list, we're going to take a very brief break before we make a motion. You'll have the chance to say, in your mind, which ones can be part of the conditions, and that'll allow the commission to make that decision. Regina, does that make sense? Can we talk about the access concerns, Nick?
The access is taken from a fire lane / private driveway that intersects from both Sepulveda Boulevard and Camarillo Street. There's also access for residential parking along Camarillo as well. DOT analyzed the driveway and access, and they're still required to have a further final review for the safety concerns. They're always required to submit a final circulation plan for driveway safety. Fire department has also reviewed this case extensively. They have not indicated any concerns with relative to their ability to access the site. They've not entertained any idea that other significant emergency impacts could occur to public safety. So I don't find any substantial evidence that would suggest that the driveway access that's proposed today is unsafe. In addition, there's also a number of traffic mitigation measures and improvements to intersections that also help facilitate the safe access of the site.
Do you want to cover the 5 unmitigatable intersections? Dana?
There's a map that was handed out to us, but I don't know if you've seen this, Nick, that describes the number of intersections. I don't know what this is meant to be. I don't know where this came from. It's got the name Lisa Petrick on the bottom of it. I can't see that. Okay, so we don't know if this was not given, so this was not distributed to staff. Okay, we'll disregard that. We can go ahead.
It is not unusual for us to see projects with unmitigatable intersections. Would you want to speak to the 5 in terms of the traffic report for us, Nick?
Well, I'm wondering.
Give us staff's position on those 5 intersections.
One of the reasons we have the statement of overriding considerations is there is the unmitigatable impact to intersections. There's no other feasible alternative to reduce those impacts with this type of mixed-use project. We'd have to keep in mind that with 100% commercial that could be allowed under C2 zone, you'd have a much higher traffic impact. We're talking about 11,000 more daily trips. With 100% residential, you have a much more reduced traffic impact. The mixed use is just slightly above the 100% residential. So the mitigation measures that DOT has proposed and the mitigation program that's required by the DCO specific plan should be enough to remedy the impacts that they can mitigate. Otherwise, we cannot simply just deny the project because there's an impact at the intersections. There are a number of issues that are associated with traffic impacts, and it's not solely borne onto the project, but it's rather a regional-wide situation. Metropolitan Transit, the MTA is proposing a San Fernando East Valley public transit improvement project. We're right now scoping meetings for that. We may start to see dedicated bus lanes along Sepulveda, Ventura Boulevard that intersect and connect to the Sylmar Metrolink station. Also, like to further clarify, in my report, I did not say that the project was connected to the Orange Line. What I said is that there are a number of red line, rapid bus lines and other lines that connect to the Orange Line. So I just want to make sure that that's clear.
Thank you. David, did you want to address those unmitigated intersections?
Yeah, I thought I could just shed a little light on that. Four of those five, Commissioner Perlman, intersections are located on that Sepulveda corridor, basically from the project site south of the boulevard, one right after the next. And you're dealing with an area that's already congested. The level of service of those intersections today range from D to F. And so really, even a much smaller project, a project this small, at the size of what SOHA is recommending, would still have those same impacts. DOT looked at a range of mitigation measures for those intersections, and unfortunately, there are no feasible ones because you've already done widenings and maxed out those areas. That's why a project like this that's actually closer to those intersections makes good planning sense rather than dispersing development further to the north in Santa Clarita, for example, because those same folks are going to be driving down the boulevard and down Sepulveda and impacting those intersections. This project gives us a chance to actually do better than that.
David, thank you. I'd like to move on to the freeway proximity issue, and also, commissioners, to hear your comments relative to the Kasdan project. I think Commissioner Freer's